Hello, everybody. I'm gonna be reading you Fading Colors by J. Webb. Now, it's a shipping of Rainbow Dash and Applejack, and I'm looking over it, and it's 6 chapters long, and they're all pretty lengthy chapters from what I can see. So, hopefully there'll be a lot more detail in it, and I like stories like that, because, you can really picture it like you're there. Because I really enjoyed Aizka's reading of Building Bridges. I really enjoyed that story. So, without further ado, here's Fading Colors. The skyline was glowing faintly as the sun cast out its final rays of the day. 2 friends stood upon a low hill, casting long shadows over the ground below them. The mares danced in their calming wind, seeming to float elegantly in place. Rainbow, I got something to tell you, Applejack confessed in a nervous tone. Across from the earth pony stood Rainbow Dash, gazing into Applejack's eyes with content. The Scion Pegasus' natural rainbow mane was slightly messy from her flight to Sweet Apple Acres. Rainbow Dash's full attention was on Applejack, her face full of excitement and curiosity as to what the farmer pony had to tell her. Well, duh! That's why you told me to meet you here, remember? Sneered Rainbow Dash, becoming a little annoyed with the earth pony's loss of words. Applejack had not forgotten why she had asked Rainbow Dash to meet her on top of the hill, just south of the farm. But she had forgotten what she was going to say. Even after rehearsing it many times, it seemed to disappear as she looked at the pony in front of her. The pony lowered her head a little and let out a sigh. Rainbow, you promise we'll still be friends if I tell you this? Applejack, I'll always be your friend, no matter what, Rainbow Dash assured. The rainbow-maned Pegasus swung around to the earth pony's side, draping a wing over her friend, pulling her close in a comforting embrace. Come on, Applejack. If something's on your mind, you can tell me. I'm sure it can't be so bad. That would make me hate you. Basking in the newly found confidence, Applejack turned and looked at her multicolored friend into the Pegasus's eyes. The farmer pony found herself becoming lost in those rose-colored eyes of hers. Time seemed to slow down and stop, her vision tunneling around the Pegasus. The only thing left that Applejack could see was Dash's eyes. She felt her soul melting in pure ecstasy at how beautiful they were. Applejack shook her head, coming back to reality. She wondered how long they'd spent locked eye to eye. It could not have been too long, she thought, as Rainbow Dash did not seem to mind. Rainbow, I love you. Closing her eyes, Applejack braced herself for the worst. An eerie silence lingered in the air, causing the earth pony to reopen her eyes. The pair stood, rooted in place for what felt like hours, staring into each other so deeply their souls seemed to intertwine. Finally, Rainbow Dash broke the painful silence. Applejack feared the worst as the Pegasus began to speak. Applejack, I cock-a-doodle-doo? What? Wait, why did she say that? Okay. Sorry, I got a little lost there in my thought. Applejack slowly drifted back into consciousness as the call of the morning rooster. Oh! It was the rooster. Wait. Wiping the sleep from her eyes, the earth pony yawned. Just another dream. Oh! Oh! I got lost. Oh, it was a dream. I'm thinking there was a little foreshadowing in there. I apologize for stopping in the middle of that. I was just confused because, Applejack, I cock-a-doodle-doo, and I'm just like, why did Rainbow Dash say that? Anyway, Applejack just woke up. Applejack found herself having them a lot lately. Some were nightmares, when Dash not accepting her affection and running off, never wanting to speak to her again. Alternatively, It would be a good dream, and Rainbow Dash confirmed her feelings, and all her stress would have dissipate as she embraced her love in a blissful kiss. Oh, that'd be nice. They were just dreams, and they were starting to get to the Earth Pony. It had been weeks since she really got a restful night's sleep. She was exhausted, and if she wanted to get any bucking done this apple buck season, she'd have to get off her chest. Now, which one of my friends would I keep this between us? Applejack thought aloud. Fluttershy! Fluttershy, are y'all home? Called Applejack, knocking loudly at a timid Pegasus's cottage door. The apple farmer had made herself a quick breakfast, which she had inhaled. In addition, she had half-assed her morning chores to get to Fluttershy's as fast as she could. She had to get this off her chest right now, or she felt like she was going to explode. Now, where could that silly filly be? Applejack said it herself. Fluttershy? Well, that didn't sound like Applejack at all, she called out, knocking harder and more frantic this time. The door swung open before Applejack was finished knocking, causing her to fall face first against the door of the cottage. Oh, that's funny. The pony answered her, but not the pony she expected. Aha! There, Apple Smack, what brings you here? Is that... Oh, God. Applejack slowly pulled herself off the floor, rubbing her head with a hoof and letting out a soft groan. She then realized who had spoken to her. Rainbow Dash? Applejack jumped back from the Scion Pegasus. The one and only, Dash replied, puffing out her chest in confidence. You still never answered my question. The Pegasus lifted an eyebrow, tilting her head slightly to the left in curiosity. Applejack stumbled in speech. Her mind held a million words, but it was still drawing a blank. What's the matter, AJ? Cat got your tongue? Dash let a soft giggle at her friend's expense before turning her attention back to Fluttershy, who was standing not far behind her. Thanks again for helping me, Fluttershy. I'd love to stay to see what Applejack has to say, but I think I can hear my bed calling my name. The Scion Pegasus let out a yawn before turning back to face the stuttering Earth Pony at the door. See you later, Apple Smack! Dash walked past Applejack, giving the pony a light smack in the face with her tail before taking off into the skies toward her cloud home. As Rainbow Dash's tail passed over Applejack's face, she inhaled deeply, scrambling her brain even more. Ha! Kinky. The only thing she could focus on was the newly found fragrance of her friend. It held a musky scent of a humid rainstorm, charged with static and the sensation of brisk wind. Applejack let the scent engulf her senses, savoring every second of it. Applejack's mind was lost in her dreams about Rainbow Dash. She could not take it anymore. She needed to let the Scion Pegasus know how she felt now. Is there something you need, Applejack? Questioned Fluttershy, appearing in the doorway. Applejack jumped, having forgotten where she was, not to mention who she came to see. Applejack snapped back to reality in her daze. She had been... Sorry, I just lost my place. She had absently watched Dash take to the air, a fading rainbow trail left behind. Applejack turned to face Fluttershy before realizing her face was lit deep red from blushing so hard. She turned away from the shy pony, blushing even more from embarrassment. Aww, that's cute. See, I like stuff like this because I can picture it and it makes me feel happy and warm inside. I just want to give myself a big hug. Fluttershy giggled at the love-struck sight of her friend. Would you come inside? Would you like some tea, Applejack? The timid Pegasus quietly asked her friend slowly, as he slowly made her way into the cottage. Closing the door behind her, Applejack finally spoke. Sure. Tea sounds great, Sugar Cube. Fluttershy walked off into the kitchen to grab the requested pot of tea. Applejack made her way over to the couch, settling down atop of the soft green sofa. She had been to Fluttershy's cottage many times before, but she never really noticed how critter-friendly the home was. Birdhouses hung from nearly every corner of the living room, and there were mice holes in some of the walls. The only thing Applejack found was a lack of critters themselves. She wondered silently to herself where they could be when the yellow-coated Pegasus returned, carrying a tray with 2 cups of tea laid upon it. Fluttershy placed the tea on the oak table in front of the earth pony. Applejack picked up her cup, drinking from it slowly. Her nerves seemed to calm from every sip of the hot liquid flowed down her esophagus. Walking around the table, Fluttershy took a seat on the couch next to Applejack. "So what brings you here today, Applejack?" questioned the yellow-coated Pegasus, picking up her cup of tea, sipping from it slowly. I've been reading too much shipping. I call it shipping. "I'm sure you know why I'm here, Fluttershy," Applejack trailed off, thinking back on what happened only moments ago. The timid Pegasus let out a small laugh. "It wasn't that hard to guess." Fluttershy smiled at the orange earth pony sitting beside her. "After being around my animal friends for so long, picking up on love comes easy." Where are all the little critters anyway?" Applejack said, wanting to buy some time before having to discuss her emotions towards her friend. "Oh, well," the timid Pegasus answered. Excuse me, tongue twister. "Oh, well," the timid Pegasus answered. "Dash likes it quiet when she comes over to talk about her past." Applejack stared at Fluttershy with a face full of confusion. What in Dash's past could she only talk about to her? "Fluttershy, if you don't mind me asking, what happened to Dash?" Fluttershy looked away from the earth pony, clearly thinking hard. If she could say anything about the subject, I could tell you, but this never leaves the 2 of us. Applejack placed a hoof on her chest. "I promise, Sugar Cube." "Pinkie Pie promise?" demanded Fluttershy, whose gaze focused intently on the farmer, before falling back into her calm demeanor. "I mean, if you want to, that is." As silly as the earth pony felt through the emotions, she knew it meant a lot amongst her friends. She sighed out the promise, repeating its mantra. "Cross my heart and hope to fly, stick a cupcake in my eye." Fluttershy looked confused by the ritual. "All right, if you really want to know." "Nice going, Fluttershy," laughed her. We're alright. Flashback. "Nice going, Fluttershy," laughed her brown-coated. No, it's that the jerk brown pony. Laughed a brown-coated colt flying down to where the yellow filly had crashed. "They ought to ground you permanently." A tan colt with 3 What? Oh, sorry, my cat distracted me, scared the crap out of me. A tan colt with 3 basketballs for a cutie mark soon joined him. "Ha! My baby brother could fly better than you," he exclaimed. Fluttershy lay there, accepting the insults from the 2 colts. As she looked at her tormentors, she saw the rainbow streak pass through the clouds behind them. In just a moment, a young filly with a rainbow mane landed between her and the colts. "Leave her alone!" the filly yelled. The boys stood in surprise at the defensive side of the Pegasus. Rainbow Dash had seen the spectacle from above and was not going to let the colts continue to berate the shy Pegasus. Regaining the composure, the orange colt spoke. "Oh, what are you gonna do, Rainbow Crash? Keep making fun of her and find out," Dash retorted, narrowing her sight on the pony before her. "You think you're such a big shot? Why don't you prove it?" challenged the brown colt, stepping toward the pair of fillies. "Well, what do you have in mind?" replied Dash. Before Dash pulled off the sonic ring. Oh, that was from the episode. Okay. Sorry about that. Before Dash pulled off the sonic rain boom and earned her cutie mark, she wasn't really noticed in flight school, Fluttershy exclaimed. After that race, she was the talk of the school for the longest time. She really seemed to enjoy it, too. Nevertheless, some ponies grew jealous of her newly gained popularity, and they started picking on her. Dash still has not told me much about it, although I was around her sometimes when it happened. Oh, it was terrible, Applejack. It was terrible. Listening to the names float around the school about her, I just did not know how she could stand the teasing for so long. I remember her last day in flight school perfectly. I don't think I'll ever forget it. Alright, flashback time. Sorry. Alright, flashback time. Fluttershy was walking down the hall of flight school. She and Dash were going out for lunch that day instead of eating in the cafeteria. Dash had told the quiet Pegasus to meet him in the lobby after class. Running a little late after visiting her locker, Fluttershy was pushing her way through the busy hallways trying to get to the lobby. Suddenly, a rainbow blur flew by overhead, drawing her attention. No question about it, Rainbow Dash was the pony making the rainbow trail. She knew Dash was reckless, but when it came to rules, flying in the hallways is a serious offense. Many Pegasi found out the hard way. Soon Fluttershy noticed two other ponies chasing after her. She picked up her after Rainbow Dash. She picked up her pace, forcefully pushing her way toward the colorful Pegasus now. By the time Fluttershy got into the lobby, a large crowd had gathered. Many ponies were laughing and pointing at the sobbing Rainbow Dash, while the two bullies she had once stood up and loomed over her. Backed into the far corner of the lobby was Rainbow Dash, hot tears streaming down from her cheeks, falling into the cloud floor below. Her wings stood flared out, waiting for the moment her mind told her body to get the hell out of there. The two colts stepped toward the filly, now mere 2 inches away from Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash screamed through her tearful expression, rocketing over towards the front door of the school and plowing right through it. The last words the bullies uttered lingered in the hall as long after since. Rainbow Dyke? Rainbow Dyke! Okay. Yeah, I don't know what dyke. I don't know what that. I'm sure it's a pretty big offense, but I don't know what dyke means, so some of you can comment and tell me what dyke means, because yeah, I don't know what that means. I'm sure it's pretty offensive though. Anyway, back to the story. Fluttershy found Rainbow Dash on the edge of the Cloudsdale, the crying Pegasus' face buried in the clouds. There was an eerie silence, broken only by the hard sobbing of the Scion Pegasus. Dash, it's me, Fluttershy. The timid Pegasus spoke, her voice just above a whisper. Go away! I want to be alone! Hissed Rainbow Dash, lifting her head from the cloud floor to face her only friend. Fluttershy noticed her eyes were bloodshot from crying. She cringed at the sight of the Scion Pegasus. Fluttershy pulled back. Okay, if that's what you want. As the quiet Pegasus turned to walk away, Dash shot a pleading call. Wait, Fluttershy, come back! I didn't really mean it. Fluttershy turned back, walking over to the crying Pegasus and hugging her for comfort. They sat together for a long time. Soon enough, Rainbow Dash had stopped crying. Thank you. The yellow Pegasus looked down at Dash, locking her eyes with her. What did I do? Rainbow Dash sniffed. Fluttershy, if you hadn't shown up, I don't know what I would have done. It was then that Fluttershy realized they were only feet from the edge of Cloudsdale. She was struck from fear that Rainbow Dash might have jumped if she had not come along. She embraced the Scion pony. Don't worry, Rainbow Dash. Those bullies won't bother you any more, she promised. You're right, Fluttershy, Dash replied, because I'm leaving. Fluttershy stood up and looked at pure horror across her... Okay, I'm sorry, I gotta read that again. Fluttershy stood up and looked with pure horror across her face. But, Rainbow Dash, where will you go? She managed to question, holding back tears of her own. I don't know, replied Rainbow Dash, joining Fluttershy on her hooves. The Scion pony cast a glance over the edge of Cloud City. I'm going to call it Cloudsdale. But I have to get away from here. Rainbow Dash had made her decision. There was no going back now. The two ponies shared one parting goodbye hug before Rainbow Dash took off, leaving Cloud City and her only friend behind. Years later, Dash ended up in Ponyville. Fluttershy concluded, I saw her in town one day and invited her back to my cottage. The thing I knew, she was living here in Ponyville. The Pegasus reached down for her tea, finding that it was now cold. Applejack, for the most part, was a complete loss for words. Something that had been happening to her a lot recently, she thought. Gee, Fluttershy, I had no idea Rainbow Dash had such a rough past. Fluttershy finished her tea, placing the empty cup on the back of the table. She's only told me some of what happened, but I still don't know what haunts her every day. I fear it will stop her from embracing what she truly wants. Applejack turned away from her friend, looking out the window beside the cottage. Fluttershy, I gotta tell her. I just gotta. Applejack, please don't be mad at her if she isn't ready to be true with herself yet, pleaded the timid Pegasus. She just needs time to heal. Applejack sat for a moment, thinking over her friend's advice. Thanks for the advice, Sugar Cube. I know what I gotta do. With that, Applejack left the simple home, running towards a certain cloud castle. Okay, I'm gonna stop there, because that was a little long. You know what? No. Well, yeah, I'll finish, because this is still chapter 1, everybody. This is still chapter 1. I'll finish reading this. Rainbow! Applejack yelled up at the cloud home hovering just outside Ponyville. Rainbow, get up, you lazy filly! She called again. The only thing that returned her calls was silence. As the Earth Pony turned to leave, she heard a sleepy voice answer her pleas. I'm coming, jeez. The voice from above could only be the rainbow-maned tomboy Pegasus. Applejack's spirits lifted immediately from hearing Dash's voice. It was like music to her ears. She quickly turned herself back around, looking up at the cloud home again. Dash poked her head over the edge of the cloud, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. Applejack? She questioned, flying down to join her friend. I need that nap, you know, she started, only to be cut short by finding an orange hoof jammed into her mouth. Sugar, Applejack said, are you busy tonight? Removing her hoof, Applejack let the pony speak. Well, I do have weather duty, but I should be free for dinner around sunset. Why? Sunset, thought Applejack. The same time it was all in her dreams. She had about a meeting. Okay, sorry. I keep stopping. Alright, I'm gonna reread that paragraph. Sunset, thought Applejack. The same time it was in all of her dreams she had about admitting her feelings to the Pegasus in front of her. Meet me behind Sweet Apple Acres at sunset then. I got a surprise for you. She spoke out nonchalantly, as she could muster, secretly brimming with anxious emotion as what she was planning. Dash immediately lit from her tired expression. I love surprises! She exclaimed joyfully, flipping in the air before coming back to the ground. Applejack couldn't help but giggle at the sight of the Scion Pegasus's joy. She felt the hotness rush to her face, lowering her head from her friend to try and hide her blush. Alright then, Sugar Cube. I have to get back to the farm. Big Mac is probably wondering why I ain't doing my afternoon chores yet. Feeling her blush subside, she raised her head back up and locked eyes with the rainbow-maned pony before her. I'll see y'all tonight then? You betcha, replied Rainbow. Brimming with confidence with that, Applejack smiled and said goodbye as she started towards home. Applejack stood on the little hill beside Sweet Apple Acres. Sunset was just minutes away. Rainbow will be here in a few minutes, she thought to herself. She looked to the sky, turning calm her nerves a little. The sky was clear, not a cloud in sight. The weather team did an excellent job today, Applejack remarked. The atmosphere held the slightest orange tint, intercloaked with light purple, as Celestia's sun just touched the horizon with her hat. turned his eyes tightly on her head. The Earth Pony did her best to keep from shaking it out of nervousness. Alright. Sorry. Why do I keep apologizing? I'm just gonna read. God. Applejack thought back on how the rest of the afternoon had gone. It was painfully slow for her, not to mention her nerves got the better of her for more than once. She put dinner on and had forgotten all about it, her mind clearly too focused on what she was going to say to her mare and the mare of her dreams tonight. It also didn't help that Big Macintosh had found out about her feelings. He pulled her aside after dinner to talk with her. She tried lying to him, but it was no use. "Big brother, I told you I'm fine. Ain't nothing I need to talk about," she explained to him, with a stern tone. The big stallion stood there, looking at her with his usual expression. "AJ, look at yourself." Applejack complied with her brother, glancing over her body to try and understand what the stallion was getting at. She didn't see what the big pony was referring to. Big Macintosh rolled his eyes. "I ain't seen you this tired or run down since last apple-bug season." It was true. She had seen better days. Sadly, 2 weeks without good sleep will do that to a pony, she thought. "I just had a lot of stuff on my mind," she stated, hoping the stallion would settle for it. "Come with me," Big Mac insisted. She followed the workhorse out to the farmhouse. After a short walk, she found herself alone with Mac inside the barn. "Now, just what in the hay are you doing out here?" Wait, what? Who's saying what? Alright. "Now, just what in the hay are you doing out here?" she questioned, becoming a little angered with her brother's antics. I don't know why I wasn't able to pronounce that. His voice was soft but stern at the same time. "Something's been eating at you, Applejack. It's best not to keep things locked up." His calm tone sent chills running up her spine. She hated her brother for that. She sighed deeply, knowing her defeat. It wasn't something she admitted often, but she knew her brother's present nature. Eventually he would get it out of her. "Mac, this stays between us, you got that?" She was face to face with the stallion, glaring daggers at him. The big stallion looked unfazed by the threat, giving a simple, unjustifiable, bleak response in return. "Yep." She breathed in, preparing herself to say what was on her mind. "This ain't easy to say, Mac. I sort of got feelings for some pony." "Who is she?" Wait! How do you know it was a she?" The stallion had caught her off guard, revealing that he knew more than she expected. Big Mac laughed softly. "AJ, I'm your big brother after all. I reckon I know you better than you know yourself." Applejack took a breath, trying to calm down her racing heartbeat. At least the hard part is over with, she thought to herself. "Well, you see, Big Mac, I got a feeling for Rainbow Dash." Her nerves stood on edge at every little sound. It would be one of her friends, eavesdropping on the private conversation. The red stallion's expression faltered at the answer, as if he already knew. "You gonna tell her?" "Actually, I am tonight." "Well, I shouldn't keep you from it then." With that, the stallion started towards the farmhouse. He was passing by the open barn door when Applejack called out to him. "Mac?" The red stallion turned around, hearing the call from his sister. "Thank you ever so kindly for being so understanding." The stallion just smiled at her before turning to leave again. But that smile was all she needed. Oh my god, I'm not even halfway done with... Alright, I'm gonna keep reading. Something moved out of the corner of Applejack's eye. She quickly snapped back to reality, investigating the spot where she had spotted the object. It must have been moving swiftly, as there were no sign of anything left. Am I losing my head? She thought to herself. Rainbow Dash approached the grassy hill where Applejack stood. The downward force of her wings caused the grass to blow violently as she touched the down atop the hill. The knoll sat just outside Apple Acres, not far from the last row of apples. Sunset was minutes away. The sun grew reckless in the sky. Mere felt in front of the Pegasus stood the orange earth pony with a vibrant blonde mane. Adored by the 3 freckles on each cheek, upon her head sat a straw cowboy hat, made only better by time. The rainbow-maned Pegasus was smiling with anticipation and curiosity at what the surprise the earth pony had held for her. Applejack was taken aback by the sight before her eyes. She felt starstruck. The rainbow-maned Pegasus looked better in the moment than she had ever had in Applejack's dreams. For a third time today, the earth pony found herself at a loss for words. "So, Applejack, what's my surprise?" the Pegasus asked joyfully. "Now or never, AJ. Come on, you can do this." "Well, you see, this is our only chance. Quit stalling. Rainbow, Fluttershy's words rang out loudly in her head. "Please don't be mad at her if she isn't ready to be true with herself yet." Applejack clenched her eyes tight, forcing out the words that fought restlessly in her throat. "I love you, Rainbow Dash!" Silence fell deathly upon the two. A silence that Applejack knew she would be remembering for the rest of her days. If Rainbow Dash's thoughts could have been heard aloud, it would have sounded like a sonic rainbow had gone off. The expression on Dash's face finally snapped on anger. "No! I'm not a filly fooler!" the Pegasus screamed, tears now streaming down her face. "I thought I had escaped from bullies back in Cloudsdale! Stay away from me!" she screamed, taking off to the sky faster than ever before, flying on pure adrenaline and anger. Applejack wanted to call out to the Pegasus, but she was far gone, leaving only a fading rainbow trail in her wake. Applejack found hot tears running down her cheeks, at the rejection of her love, at her friend's hurtful words that now stung at her heart, and at herself for her confusion. The earth pony's body finally gave in and she collapsed atop of the hill. "Well, I did it," she told herself. "I ruined our friendship." As much as she wanted to cry right now, her body and mind begged to sleep more. Applejack found herself dripping into a deep slumber, her dreams filled with vivid scenes. However, something had seemed off about her dreams that night, as if the color itself was slowly fading away. Rainbow Dash flew in no particular direction. Tears stained the Pegasus' face as they flowed freely down her cheeks and ripped back by the wind. The only thing in her mind was the painful memories that haunted her every night. Memories of how she'd always been picked on by bullies in school for being different. Atop the old memories came the new ones, which until just now remembered deep inside. She had been repressed them so far into the back of her head that she had forgotten about them until Applejack had admitted her feelings. Unfortunately for Applejack, Fluttershy was right. While Dash's heart was fully ready to accept her, Dash's mind was not. She snapped slowly, her grip on the real world, descending into madness locked away in her head. Rainbow Dash burst through the door of Cloudsdale, not even bothering to close the door behind her, as she made a beeline for her bedroom. Dash felt nauseous. Her world flipped upside down. "Go away!" she yelled, a lot of the memories in her fillyhood rushing back all at once, collapsing on the cloud bed. Rainbow Dash wept uncontrollably. She was powerless against the agonizing assault that had been released upon her mind. "Oh, Celestia, I love you too, Applejack!" she shouted, grasping her head in a sharp pain shot from deep within. "Remember, Dash, you're not a filly fooler," replied her mind, hitting the rainbow-maned Pegasus with another bolt of pain. Rainbow Dash screamed. "Make it stop!" she pleaded, as fresh tears spilled forth down her cheeks. Her mind slowly continued in insanity. Her body shook in torment as it was continuously assaulted by painful bursts. Every time her mind released another pulse of pain, the Scion Pegasus would scream. The pain was becoming too much for her, and soon she found herself fading away. Well, I think that's a good place to stop for now. I mean, despite the fact that, like, I don't know. I've heard a story like this. It was a Twilight and Rainbow Dash one, but this one has more detail, and I like it. I mean, I feel like I really connect with stories like this, but like, I don't sound like I connect with it because my voice just doesn't, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know. But yeah, so far this story, despite the fact that it's pretty long, I'm really liking it. I'm truly loving this story, and I hope you are too. So, part 2 coming up.